like this game against the Dolphins on Saturday is big in the context of a few things: the table, but also their confidence and their mindset. Right? Everyone's sort of saying, because of the injuries that have happened, that they can't win it.
And I remember screaming out, "Bobby, Bobby, where's Bobby?" And the trainer said, "Mate, we had to take him off. He's got a broken leg."
Well, g'day and thanks for joining us on this week's episode of Queensland. Just 4 more rounds to go until the NRL final series kicks off. Hopefully we get both the Dolphins and the Broncos there representing Queensland. Today's episode brought to you by our good partner at Tab. Once again, I'm Adam Jackson, joined by Broncos legend Darren Lockyer and the King himself, Wally Lewis. Boys, the big talking point here in Queensland at the moment, the Broncos, how will they overcome all those injuries? Looks as though Ezra and Qlder probably won't play again this season. Lockyer and Adam Reynolds out 3 to 4 weeks at this stage. Does that rule them out of premiership contention, do you think?
No, I don't think it does. I think there'll be a group of guys there and some individuals that will replace those guys that'll want to prove a point.
Yep.
I think a lot of people from the outside looking in have written the Broncos off now. So I think they'll be motivated to prove people wrong, and one person's disappointment is another person's opportunity. You've got Ben Hunt, potentially Billy Walters in the halves, and whoever comes in to replace Selwyn will be either Jesse Arthurs or Karapani.
Yep.
And then you've got Corey Pakes, Tyson Smoothie might get a start. So these guys, they're getting an opportunity and they might want to prove people wrong.
Yeah, Lockie certainly hit the nail on the head there, and I guess that there'll be plenty of teams that they're up against that no matter how they prepare for each and every game against the Broncos, they won't be having the same respect for them that they would have had they been at full strength. So it's going to be an interesting preparation. I think Madge, we'll see him acting like we've never seen him go to town before and work on these players to be able to both inspire them and give them the opportunity to perhaps book a spot in the times to come. So it's not going to be easy for Brisbane. There's no doubt about that. But certainly they do have an opportunity now to be able to make the most of it.
Do you think they are a risk potentially of falling out of that? Because you look at their run home. So they've got the Dolphins this week, and then they play the Knights, they play the Cowboys, and then the Storm in the final round. Like, it could be a whole lot tougher draw than what it is, but you'd think to miss the 8, they would have to lose all 4. They only have to win one of those 4 to get into the 8.
Well, I think a fair bit, like this game against the Dolphins on Saturday is big in the context of a few things: the table, but also their confidence and their mindset. Right? Everyone's sort of saying, because of the injuries that have happened, that they can't win it.
Yep.
And so they want to prove people wrong. Then if they come out and play really well against the Dolphins and get a win, then that'll give them a huge shot of confidence. So I think if win this week, I think guaranteed top 8. Lose this week, then there's a lot of I guess nervousness around where they finish.
Yeah.
I think over the years we've seen the Broncos at their best when they've been without a couple of their key players. Remember when Alf was out, Lockyer missed a game or 2. We saw them producing some wonderfully skillful football where they rely upon each other and get to be able to produce their best the further they go.
Can you remember, Lockyer, back in your day? Like, I remember Webke broke his arm in the lead up to a final series. Any ones that stand out for you where a big name got injured?
There's a couple, right? Well, there's one from the Broncos sort of history, and there's another one I'll get to in a minute. But so in '99, after we won the '98 grand final, out of the first 10 rounds, we'd only won 1 game. Drew one. And Alf retired.
Yep.
And we won the next 13 straight without our captain and Alan Langer. So what happens when you lose potentially your best player, or he's our best player?
Yeah.
Everyone has to lift, right? Everyone has to compensate for that, and you get a team performance. So that's the Broncos sort of scenario where different circumstances, but that's an example. And the other one for me is the Cowboys in 2017.
Oh, yeah.
When no Thurston.
No Matt Scott.
No Matt Scott, and they went all the way to the grand final.
Yeah.
So that's probably a bit more, I guess, relevant to where the Broncos are right now. They lost Thurston at the back end of the year and they made their way to the grand final.
Yeah, Michael Morgan and Tamalola, really two guys who stood up, as you were saying. What about in your era, in Origin? I can't remember what year it was, a heap of guys got injured in the game and you still managed to get up to win. The one where...
Game 2, 1989.
There we go. You remember?
Sydney Football Stadium.
Yeah.
We actually finished that game one player short with 12 players. I remember seeing, the horror of Alf with a broken leg. It was one of those games, and I think that certainly the opportunity to present that in one game wouldn't have been anything like having to do it for a number of games. But certainly Brisbane, they're not going to be short of determination. I'm going to look forward to it. It'll be a wonderful opportunity. But when you do get that chance to prove all of your critics wrong, you love that chance. You jump at it every time, and to see how they will respond in a situation like this at such an important time of the year, it's worth its weight in gold.
Was that the game too you told Bob Linder he couldn't go off and found out he had a broken leg?
Yeah, I told Bobby to stop limping. Get on the right side, Bob. You're not supposed to be over that side, so get over there and toughen up a little bit if you possibly can. And I remember screaming out, Bobby, where's Bobby? And the trainer said, mate, we had to take him off. He's got a broken leg. He kind of left me with an omelette on my face, not just egg, but it was just one of those Queensland moments, and ones where guys are quite prepared to produce their level best at a difficult time in their careers, and you love the chance to do it. You don't sort of enjoy the challenge. You wish you didn't have to do it, but it's there. It's what footy's all about.
Yeah, you mentioned this is an opportunity for players to step up, Lockyer. Which sort of players step up? Will we see maybe Reece Walsh take on a bit more of a ball-playing role now?
I don't think their game will change too much, depending on who goes to number 6. I think if Katoni goes there, it changes a bit because you've got to replace Katoni in the centres. But if Billy slots in there, and again, I don't know what Madge is thinking, but I think if Billy goes in there, who's been playing some good footy, I don't think their game changes too much. But I do think Reece will inject himself in the game even more.
Yeah. And what we've seen on Billy, like being a former 5'8" yourself, why do you think that will work? Because we've seen training the last couple of days. He's trained at 6. Why do you think Billy can succeed in 6?
I think there's those key players that we lost and then sell, and you probably want to try and minimise the disruption to the team. And so moving Katoni into the 6 and finding a new centre, it just changes a lot of dynamics. And I think Billy, what I've liked about him is he's been thinking run first, and I think he's like, that's Ezra's game, right? So Ben has to manage the team around the park, get his kicking game in order, bring Reece into the game, but then Billy can just focus on getting his running game right. Yeah, I think that's the key.
Yeah, I agree with you, Lockyer. Billy, you certainly will have a bit of responsibility there to cart out, the opportunities of his running games. But I think for that to happen, the forwards have got to take control. They've got to make sure that they are dominant, they dictate up front, and if they can possibly do that, it'll increase the opportunities for Billy and the rest of the guys in behind.
And I think to backfill what Billy was doing, so one of the hookers, whether it's Tyson or it's Corey, they need to think run too, because that's what Billy was getting the momentum in that ruck area because of his running game.
Yeah, inadvertently, the weakness for the Broncos of having too many hookers in the top 30 squad, which we were critical for them at the start of the year, has become their strength in the back end of the year because they've needed them. So I've got egg on my face for criticising them.
There's now 2 hookers playing in the halves.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, which is definitely needed. But yeah, a lot of people forget Billy Walters actually came through the grades as a 5'8". He played a Queensland Cup Grand Final with the East Tigers back in the day. So he's well equipped to do that. His kicking game is quite strong.
It's good to watch him too, Adam. Good to watch him when he makes the switch over those positions from one to the other, and how he's able to control it so comfortably. And I'm quite looking forward to it. How
proud would Kevy be too? Because that's a iconic jersey for the Broncos that you guys have worn. Kevy's an emotional guy. Seeing his son wear the 6 jersey in a crucial game for the Broncos at Suncorp, he would be so proud.
He would, and I think you got to give a lot of credit to Billy in the way he's handled this year. Like, I think, we brought Ben Hunt into the club, and he's he was going to be the starting number 9, but then, things... And Corey Pates came in, but, Billy just didn't kick any stones. He just got on with it, and he's been playing some of his best football, and he's earned potentially a starting spot in the 6, which is great for him and the family.
Yeah, and I think Alf will be reminding Kevy what a wonderful job that Billy did in that 5'8" position, better than a few other 5'8s that have had that chance. He won't miss that, not for a moment.
And you think with Ben Hunt, he's kind of been the Mr. Fix-It guy this year with a sustained 3-week period now, like you owning the team, he'll rise to another level?
I think this is a bit of an opportunity or a challenge that we'll see get the best out of Ben Hunt.
Yeah.
That's what I'm excited about, is that he's now the main man in that team, and that will bring the best out in him, I hope.
Yeah, oh, I agree with you, Lockyer. And when you say that, it immediately cast my mind back to a try he scored at Lang Park, or Suncorp Stadium, where he, I'm sure he carted it from dummy half and managed to score for the Maroons. And I'm pretty sure I've got that down pat, how well he did it, and it was fantastic to watch.
Who becomes the captain now? Will Ben Hunt captain, or will Carrigan captain, or maybe Staggs as part of the leadership group? You genuinely don't know?
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, Madge might share it around. I don't know. But it is also a window of, OK, well, this period might shine some light on who the next captain is.
Yeah.
And to have a couple of them, Adam, it also helps out if one of those guys needs a rest, has to take 5-10 minutes on the sideline to get a little bit of a spell. To be able to share that position around with such grace, I think, is a great thing for the Broncos.
Yeah, definitely well there. And the opposition, the Dolphins, coming off a pretty bad capitulation against the Roosters. How concerning was that one? Because we've never seen this from the Dolphins before. Even when they've lost in the past, they've only just lost.
Yeah, I reckon every season you have these nights where just nothing works.
Yeah.
Just for whatever reason, you get good old-fashioned hiding.
Yeah.
That's the Dolphins. So I guess the nervousness for me as a Bronco is that the response.
Yeah.
It's probably the worst thing. This is probably the worst week to be playing the Dolphins. So.
Yeah. It's not a good time, you're right there, Lockie, when they're going to be in a real mood to try and make up for it. And it just seemed, though, the harder they tried, the worse they got. Mistakes just came along, but that doesn't promise good times ahead for Brisbane, that's for sure.
Would you rather play a team, say, have had a 5 or 6 game winning streak, as opposed to a team that lost to 50 the week before?
Yep.
Yeah. Just the mental effect.
Just the mental effect. Like they'll get criticised all week. There'll be people out there saying they can't beat the Broncos, even though the Broncos have got some personnel missing. But I know Wolfie's a good coach.
Yeah.
And he's got a hard edge about him, and these guys will be ready to go on Saturday.
Yeah. With all their injuries, I just felt with Herbie going down, that may be a bridge too far on the top of, Flegler, Gilbert, Plath, Saifidi, everyone else. I had real concern that it's coming to a point soon where 1 or 2 injuries may just be too many. And you just saw the absence that Herbie had in that team on Saturday.
Are they getting anyone back?
Not really. They've even lost another one. So Francis Molo suspended for that one.
Yeah. I think the real test is he's a 21-year-old kid, but the real test is stopping Katoa.
Yeah.
So defensively you need to have a game plan ready to go that minimises his impact on the game.
Yeah, and even without all the injuries, amazing fullback showdown there. Reece Walsh up against the Hammer at Suncorp Stadium, worth the price of admission alone. You talked about Wolfie there before, Lockie. The sin binnings was the part that marred that game. 2 players sin bin from both sides with Spencer Leniu shaping up. What did you guys think about that?
Well, I think the referee's just trying to calm the game down, right? But I don't know whether you need to put 2 each in.
Yep.
I think one on either side's enough to just send a message. Just go, righto, guys, cool your jets. Look, everything's easy in hindsight, but I think sending 2 from each side just created chaos.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I must say it was one of those moves that was confusing. I guess we can understand what the referee is trying to achieve, but to me it was that was unusual. That was strange. There was no consistency in that. you know, and they've got the worst job in the world, you know, and I've said that a couple of times when I've gone and spoken to referees that you know, it's a bugger of a job they've got, and they're always going to be wrong with half of the people that are in attendance at the game. So, but you know, there are easier jobs, that's for sure.
Yeah, the way I look at it too, so 2 plays sin bin from each side. So the infringement was incurred by the Roosters by Spencer Lanier. How did they get penalised? So they started the fight. The Dolphins get no benefit from that. So to me, it should have been Spencer gets sin bin. I think Molo deserved to be sin bin because he came in and was fighting with White from the Roosters. So to me, 2 Roosters players get sin bin and 1 Dolphins players get sin bin. Yeah. So the Dolphins still get an advantage because the Roosters started the fight out of nothing. They score a try, kick the goal, and aren't disadvantaged by incurring the first infringement. So poor All Blacks gets fined for, like, I think Trad at the Dolphins said it was a grade 1 and someone wanted to shape up and fight me, Judge. So hopefully people are passing the hat round at the Redcliffe Leagues Club so poor All Blacks can pay his fine.
Imagine putting Spencer Leniu and Francis Molo in the sin bin a la
what is
Greg
it?
Dowling style on the sideline.
Haven't yeah, that would have been pretty close to the mark.
I reckon you would have got a good crowd around the tunnel.
And just on the Roosters-Dolphins, do you see that? For mine, essentially, the top 7 is sorted if the Broncos can jag a win out of the last 4, which you'd say they do. So by the looks of the ladder, it'll come down to the Roosters and the Dolphins.
Well, I think I think there's only 9 in it now.
Yeah.
Roosters, right, and I think the loser out of the Saturday game, the Broncos-Dolphins, they're at risk of the Roosters getting them.
Yeah,
The winner, I think, will be safe to get through to the 8. So there's a fair bit hinging on Saturday's game, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It'll be very interesting to see the pattern of play that comes out. I shouldn't imagine that they'd come up with anything that's controversial anymore or take too many risks by starting something that's seen by the referees as being legal. You need every man on the field in the current days.
Yeah, it was interesting. Mark Nichols, we interviewed him earlier today at the Dolphins.
Goat.
Yeah, the GOAT, yeah. He had his teeth in, which was good for that interview. Sometimes a bit scary when he doesn't have his teeth in. But he said we learned a valuable lesson from that game. There's no point winning the fight if you're going to lose the game. Yeah. So essentially, like, we need to keep our emotions in check and do a better job of that. So it's good that they learnt a valuable lesson from that. Another downside too, it took a big hit to their for and against. So the Dolphins had a massive for and against over everyone else. Yeah. In that top 8 race, and now I think they're only about 50 ahead of the Roosters, so that can easily be erased in a good win for the Roosters and a bad loss for the Dolphins.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, for and against. Well, like I said, I think there's only 9 teams that are left in the race.
Yeah.
And you know, the Chooks who have got some tough games, they've got a couple of easier teams too. Which they can do, as we saw on the weekend, put a big score on. If the Dolphins. They could get pipped on for and against in the end.
Yeah, and there's a fascinating final round game. The Roosters up against the Rabbitohs, and the Rabbitohs are likely to get players back for that game. Imagine how much South Sydney would love to eliminate the Roosters from the finals in the last round. They would be licking their lips there. And imagine Wayne Bennett. Imagine how much he would get his team up for that game.
Yeah, well, you see the Roosters versus the Rabbits last round, and you just assume Roosters win that, right?
Yeah.
But there might be a totally different narrative when you get to that point, like you're saying.
Yeah, Latrell's starting to fire again. Cody Walker may be back. Jack Whiten, Cam Murray potentially.
And a certain coach involved.
Yeah, that's it. Who'll be trying hard to avoid the wooden spoon. Also, let's move on to our tab big call this week. Boys, what are you thinking?
The Dolphins to produce arguably their best game of the season. I think that they've got to make up for quite a bit. Certainly, the recent matches haven't been all that comfortable, but I think that they're going to stick very much to the pattern of play given to them via the coach and not gamble on that too much. I think they'll be quite careful, and we'll see a game where they're in control of it, particularly the area on the field where they're playing. They'll make sure that it's as difficult as possible for the opposition, who are always just simply cutting the ball out from close to their own line.
There we go. Wal's tipping an upset, the Dolphins to win the Battle of Brisbane.
Jeez, I hope he's wrong.
I didn't say that they were going to win. I said they're going to produce their best performance. Yes.
I'm going to go. I thought the Cowboys were pretty strong against the Eels in Sydney. I'm going to go. They played the Knights up in Townsville. I'm going to go 20+ margin.
Oh, the Cowboys
Cows.
win. Oh, they'll turn it on. One of those good old-fashioned Cowboys touch footy games where.
And I'll throw Dearden to get a double in. With
Oh, nice. There we go. Tom Dearden's still been playing quite well, even though the Cowboys haven't been winning. My tab big call is it's an arm wrestle in the Battle of Brisbane. The Broncos just win. So keeping your good books there, Lockyer. Corey Pakes scores the match-winning try. Loves a little sneaky dart out of dummy half, Sonic the Hedgehog from the Broncos. So Corey Pakes to get the match winner at Suncorp Stadium on Saturday night. Dolphins prove me wrong. I'll be happy to be proven wrong. Moving down the M1 to the Titans. The poor old Titans, they just can't get a break, can they? There was that high tackle shot on Jaden Campbell late in the game. The NRL's come out and admitted they got it wrong. Should have been a penalty, opportunity to tie it up, potentially push it into golden point. That's now 2 weeks in a row the NRL's admitted they got high tackles wrong at crucial stages against the Titans. How hard is that to digest?
Hard to digest, but look, I reckon, we talk about the bunker can't rule on a forward pass. I think you've got to take the bunker out of this because where it gets a lot of focus on is that these players will lay down waiting for the bunker to intervene.
Yeah.
They get a penalty. Jaden Campbell does the right thing, gets up straight away, so they don't look.
Yeah.
Take the ability for the debunker to come and look at it after it's happened and just deal with it at the match review committee and say, look, the referee on the field missed it, but he's probably, the referee's not going to get everything. But deal with it at the match review committee. And so therefore what you do out of that is you stop players laying down trying to milk a penalty. You've got to get that out of the game.
Yeah, there was that pathetic situation with Talon De Silva doing it with the 2 or 3 minutes to go in that Cowboys Parramatta Eels game, and then they stopped the game, looked at it, and they realised, hey, he was just milking it. Even I know in water polo they have
Good to hear that call though.
Yeah, well, definitely. In water polo, they have this exclusion thing of you go out for the next play. So imagine if a player lies down and the bunker checks and goes, hey, it wasn't a high shot. Okay, you're off for 2 minutes. For faking an injury?
Yeah. Well, you need to have some sort of consequence for doing that. And at the moment,
there's none.
I can only think of you just take the bunker out of it. The bunker can't and just let the match review committee deal with it. If something foul play happened and you missed it on the run, then so be it.
Yeah, and poor old Jaden Campbell essentially gets penalised for playing tough.
Yeah.
And so there's showing signs of life towards the back end of the season. Titans, their best run of form, even though the wins have been few and far to come by. So their remaining games are the Sharks, Warriors, Dolphins, Tigers. Can you see them winning a few of those games?
I think Sharks are away. What are the other games? Where are they played at?
The Warriors. The Warriors will be at home because they beat the Warriors in New Zealand a few weeks ago.
Yeah, right. So that's at home.
Yeah.
So that's a chance.
That'll be a huge crowd, all the Kiwis there on the Gold Coast.
The Dolphins game.
The Dolphins is at Suncorp, I know that for sure.
And that's, they've played well at Suncorp sometimes. They've got the Tigers at home. So
it's 3 of the...
they're a chance. Like, they're going to put some pressure on the South for the spoon.
Yeah. The spoon bowl will continue, Poor old Wayne. So you think potentially they avoid the spoon? I guess it comes down to which players come back for the Rabbitohs, how strong they get.
Yeah. I guess, I saw Dez's press conference and he just said, look, the game should never have got to that last call with Jaden, right? They should have iced it a lot earlier. So I think while Jaden comes up with some amazing skill and amazing sort of passages of play, I think his game management is still learning that.
Yeah.
But you got Kieran Foran there, and you would assume that there's enough experience there. So I think there's probably a little bit there where they just need to work out, how they manage the game a little bit better, and just in those situations where the game's close at the back end, just got to get a game plan ready to try and finish him off.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned the magic name there, and Kieran Foran. He's had a pile of experience, and he can certainly take all that responsibility on board and make it easier for those playing around him to play their own game, be a lot open, a lot more free with it. So, I'd be very surprised if he didn't lead the way for the Titans and make things much more comfortable for the others.
A big part of managing a game is your kicking game, right? And I just maybe think that probably needs a bit of improvement at the Titans.
Yeah. And one real positive for the Titans, Keanu Kinney made a successful return in the Queensland Cup on the weekend for the Tweed Seagulls. I was at that game. It was great to see. So he's had 4 months on the sideline since undergoing that neck surgery at the start of the year. He only played the first 40 minutes at fullback, and he was amazing. You can watch it on 9 now, download some of those highlights. I think he had 2 try assists in the first half, and he was so edgy sitting him on the sideline for the second half because it was a close game and you could see like the competitive nature, and he wanted to get out there and play. But his Tweed Seagulls won that game 34-29. Weird scoreline. When nothing worse, guys, than when you kick a field goal and you're in a losing team.
I think you've got to put him in and put Brimson, just give him a go at hooker. I keep saying.
Yeah, okay, yep.
I just reckon he'd be dynamite out of there.
Yep.
Maybe start Sam Verrills, but bring him on about 20 in and just let him go. Let him
his
run.
speed,
He's a tough little thing.
Yeah, maybe try that last couple of rounds of the season there. And we'll wrap it up today talking about my Cowboys. No win against the Eels, but as we alluded to earlier there, Lockyer, much better performance. Really unlucky not to win that game in the end.
Yeah, look, the Eels are a good team, and especially when Mitch Moses is back. So for the Cows to get within a whisker, I thought that was positive for them. So they'll be disappointed with the loss, and I think they'll get confidence from that performance playing back home this week.
Yeah, I'd love to see it as well, and I think the big boys up front, they're the ones that have got to lead the way for the Cowboys. It'll be quite interesting to see how this match is going to turn out. But to be at their best, they're going to have to start that way, and not be very standoffish, if there's such a word. That they really do appear to be or take quite some time to get their game flowing.
It was Temelo
First game back.
Yeah,
from
I
that
thought they did look a bit stronger in the middle with him back.
Yeah, and that's. We've always been critical of their defence. That's the least amount of points they've conceded in 5 weeks. So that's the area they really need to improve on. The second half, I think they only conceded 1 try. So that's where they need to address. Yeah,
well, we've been saying that, haven't we? Get your defence in order, and then that takes your pressure off your attack, and your attack just flows. So they've still got to have that mindset going into this week against Newcastle. The defence is our first priority.
Yep.
And I think, Adam, you probably got tired of hearing me saying Taumalolo at front row. When that was the case, I took a little while to get used to whenever that came around. I still found that his prime position was at lock and attacking the halves on the edge of the ruck. He seemed to have done that with almost monotonous regularity throughout his career. Now he's carting the ball up and getting knocked over by guys that are at marker the vast majority of times. And, while I understand the coach comes up with plans like that and has real reason for it, I think that if it doesn't work after a while, you've got to try and look for option B.
Yeah. And speaking of the Cowboys coach, Todd Payton, post-match, he accused Mitch Moses of taking a dive in that last play when Jake Clifford scores the try. You agree with that? I 100% agree. You go back and watch it, Mitch Moses only has eyes for running into Jeremiah Nene. And where Clifford catches the ball is still like 10 metres behind. It's almost as if he's got to train Jeremiah to almost pause at the line or like step at the last minute to avoid Moses.
It's a loophole in our game. It's a fault in our game that you are just allowing a defender to make a decision that knows it's going to, you're going to get a penalty, right?
Yeah.
So we have to find ways as a game to, try and prevent players trying to milk something, whether it's a high shot or whether it's what
obstruction.
obstruction, right? So, you need to get the brains trust together and work out ways to try and disincentivise defenders by doing this.
Yeah, I agree, Lockyer. And, while there was criticism of it taking effect, I'm sure if the other team had had the ball in an identical position and they were searching for a penalty, they would have done exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
So, as Lockyer says, you got to make it a little bit harder.
Yeah.
A little bit harder.
And just finally on the Cowboys, are you seeing any green shoots of late that they can take forward into 2026? The form of Purdue is a good investment. They're blooding some young forwards. Marley Bittengarn has played the last couple of games. Lars has come off the bench. So at least they're investing in the future, getting games into young guys.
Yeah. Well, green shoots for me comes with consistent performance week in, week out.
Yeah.
You might not be good enough to win, but you're just showing improvement. And I think for me, if the Cowboys have a good month before the season's over, then there's some green shoots. But it's been too... I guess the last couple of months they'd have one good performance in a month cycle. So they need to really nail the next month.
Yeah.
And they excite each other. They get that confidence back, and once you've got that on board, it's pretty hard to lose it.
Yeah, well, Lockie's tipped him 20+ in Townsville this weekend. Fingers crossed that's the go. Tommy didn't.
No pressure.
Yeah, Tommy did, and 2 tries. Big weekend of footy here on Nine's Wide World of Sports. Kicks off Thursday night, the grand final rematch between the Storm and Panthers. Could be a grand final preview again for this year. So Thursday night, Nine's Wide World of Sports, and then we count down to the Battle of Brisbane here at Suncorp Stadium. We'll catch you next week on Queenslander.